We'll call Marsh County Fiscal Court to order, March 20th, 2018. Roger Ford, our jailer. There you are, sir. Good.
You want us to hold our applause, Roger, till the end? Okay.
Just wanted to come up and submit my 2018-2019 budget. I think you guys should have a copy of it. If you guys feel the need and find any extra money, that'd be fine if you want to shove it my way.
Roger, do you know if that House bill passed that gives you a little bit more flexibility on your canteen funds?
Judge, I believe it has. My
Okay.
understanding it has. Of course, now then to figure out what all it will cover. I know it's the security and safety of the inmates. I have done checked. I do know that I've actually been talking to Andy a little bit about possibly getting some upgrade on the camera system, which this will help us on it because I will be able to use that money to put cameras inside the cells. Now, I can't
Okay.
put it in the hallways on the outside, but they can go on the inside, which would certainly help because those cameras are not like non-functional. They're just old, so I could
Right.
possibly use them, move them around to some blind spots that I've got.
Okay,
You know,
good.
So it'll be a big help, yeah.
Okay.
And I actually talked to Emily the other day. I've got a couple more little projects that I feel that is for the safety of the inmate, so I guess I'll have to talk to the auditors about it, but yeah, it'd be great.
Okay, well, good. I know the Judge Executive Association, the legislation team supported it, so I think that was good news across
Yes,
the
I think
state.
all the associations was for it, yeah.
Okay. Y'all have any questions for Roger? All right, need a motion to accept.
Motion to accept the budget.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And Judge, I have one more thing. I know this wasn't really on the agenda, but it's very, very small. I think I left everybody a copy of it, and Jason, I might have left it over there on Jeff's spot there. I had one addition to the policy procedure book. I've got it highlighted there, one little sentence there. If I could get the approval for my policy procedure book for this year also.
Is this an amendment to?
Yes, sir.
So this would be an amendment to his current policy manual.
Yeah.
To add, it looks like section 5.
I'm assuming EOL is, sorry. I'm assuming EOL is defined somewhere else in the manual?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay.
It's an emergency. Our vine line, it's a notification of our vine line if we have an escape, we on the vine line on our computers, we show that what it is, and it notifies the victims if they're registered with it. But now they also want us to call this number also. So, yeah.
Okay. So we can just make a motion for that change or that amendment and reflect that in the minutes. Is there a
Move to
motion?
make the change on the recommendation of the jailer.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Now, Judge, is this approving the whole book again? Because like I said, this is the only addition that I had with it.
Yes, we will just make that amendment
Okay.
to that section of the policy, which
Okay.
it's on the record now since we
Yes, sir.
took the emotion. So
Yes, sir.
however you want to
Well, I've got
update
an
your
inspection
people.
coming up, and always receive just a copy of the minutes where my policy procedure book was approved.
Yeah, and I would make sure whoever's in line to notify them,
Yes,
make
sir.
sure that your people are notified that
Yes, sir.
it's changed. But
We've
yeah,
got
Do you
it
need,
posted in the
you need blanket approval for the whole thing?
Yes,
too?
sir, I need blanket approval.
Make
for
my
that.
motion
Yeah.
to reflect that.
is there a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I don't mean to run off, but I've got business, okay? Thank you, guys.
Too wet to play golf.
All right. Next, under guests is going to be LaDonna and our 911 director and Brian Andrews. They're going to give us an update on their survey.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
If you remember, I think it was in December when I came in and we talked about doing a survey, an independent survey of the county to check what type of, radio system that we would need for complete coverage for our officers. We took, 3 to 4 days in January, very long days, going to all the sites and working with Lee Lemoyne from Modular Communications to come up with what you see that I put at each place today. That is a condensed version. I have the full report if anybody wants to see that at any point. If you look at the first page of that, that is our current radio coverage for Marshall County. If you'll see it, we're at 76.3%. Where you see green, that is good coverage. That's pretty much 100%. Yellow is less than that, and red is even less than that. Red does not necessarily mean that we don't have coverage, but we may or may not have coverage. And if you'll notice those areas, Aurora, Hardin, Brewers, along the south part of the county, we really don't have the proper coverage that we need. That being said, if you'll look at the next page in your packet, this is what we could have. Again, green being complete coverage, yellow just a little bit less than that, and then red. Where you see some of the red, that is part of Clarks River bottom area that's low-lying. And this would take us to 96.1%. If you look back from 76.3 to 96.1, that's what the guarantee is, with pretty much 100% coverage. And I think that we owe that to our officers, to our EMS, to fire department, everyone that we have radio communication with to be able to have that communication. For instance, over the weekend, we had a couple of incidents where we didn't have any kind of communication with one of our officers. On Friday, was in a situation, went to a situation where we thought was just someone that was unresponsive. It turned out that there were 4 irate individuals there as well, and he was calling for assistance. We had assistance on the way, but he wasn't hearing us. He didn't know that somebody was coming, had to get out of the residence into the street in order to have communication with us. That's not acceptable. We just cannot have that. Brian also had an incident over the weekend. Was that
Yeah,
Friday or
that was on
Saturday?
Friday.
If you want to talk about that, what happened
Well,
with no communication?
we just had a situation, we had a brush fire, and not sure of the condition of the radio equipment, but we had about a 15-minute to 20-minute gap in coverage. We could not make communications with dispatch under any circumstances. There was some kind of radio failure in the system for a short time, but then it came back. So, and we face that a lot. We have intermittent problems all the time. And there are several areas on the fire department side of this, especially in Aurora and Brewers, that we have problems 24/7.
Okay. So you can see the comparison of where we are and where we could be. If you will skip through to the back page, so what everybody wants to know is how much this would cost us. What you have in between there is explanations of things that need to be fixed at many of the tower sites. If you look at that last page, and you'll see a bolded amount there is the plus 10% contingency. The second part of that has to do with my particular area with dispatch consoles and such. I'm not as much concerned about that. We will address that going forward. We're not in a position to do that quite yet anyway, but I really want to focus on the top part of that, and we'll take questions, whatever anybody wants to discuss at this point. I will say that we've also had a competitor's bid on this that was more than double what you see here. The 96.1% goes with this for modular communications. The other guarantee was at 95%, which is a little bit less, but the cost is more than double, approaching triple what you see on this sheet here. So I propose that we use modular communications and go forward with this, but I know that there needs to be discussion on that matter as well.
LaDonna, the numbers here on the last page, is that, this diagram, looks like page 28, the third page to the last. The diagram with the, looks like the antennas, is that what we currently have?
With the exception of the Aurora Tower.
With the exception
We'll
of-
have to build that tower
Okay,
in order to get this coverage.
okay.
The rest of it would be using existing towers that we have.
And then the Draftonville Tower, is that the one that's at the
the
road
school.
department?
No, at the high school.
At the high school? Okay.
The Golo Tower is actually in Graves County. But it gave us great coverage.
We used some of the water towers before, is that not an option?
Over the years, we've found that water towers don't provide adequate coverage. They, a lot of times, they'll skew your radio waves a little bit different. You would think would be a good ground plane, but, the problem that we have with those, a lot of times, is access to the water tower. We're gonna have to, not all of them are equipped with the proper mounting hardware at the top to be able to mount antennas and dishes. What you're looking at, Judge, on page 28.
Yes.
This is the backhaul for this system. This is all the microwave links that would be necessary. All the sites have to communicate with each other 24 hours a day. And this is what they call a hub and spoke design, where a central location receives data from all of those towers, and then the green line that runs around the outside are links between those. So if one of those red links failed, then the green links would come in as a secondary, so you would never lose coverage. So if you had a storm come in and 2 microwave links were moved over and couldn't communicate, you'd still have 100% coverage until someone could get up there and repair that link. So, and between Golo and the tower at Curd Road, there's no availability for that, but we had the way to link it back to Oak Level. So we're using, most of these sites are the West Kentucky Rural Electric, the automated meter reading towers. That's what we're using for most in the south end of the county. So they're already existing infrastructure, and we'd have to obtain agreements through those, but they've already, a couple of those, East Marshall's already put a tower, or an antenna rather, on one of those, and they've been very forthcoming to allow us as a partner on these towers.
Brian, where's the tower in Calvert City?
Now, that tower is actually the same, that's the Calvert City's existing radio tower behind Napa, and the water tower on 10th Street.
That is at the water tower?
It
Yes,
is at the
but it's
water tower.
on the radio tower behind that.
Yeah, you said that's not a very good idea in most instances, and I thought it used to be there. In the past, I just assumed that it was still there, but that is still the tower in use.
Right. A lot of times, historically, elevated real estate is at a minimum. So a lot of times you'll look around and try to find, hey, there's a water tower that's kind of what we need, but doesn't meet our needs exactly. This is more of a meets our needs exactly situation.
One of the highest points in the city.
Yes,
Where that
we've
is.
checked every water tower, any tower that's existing in Marshall County, we checked during the course of this. This is our best situation
Okay.
here. We went to places that I didn't even know existed, so.
There is no tower right now in Aurora, is that right?
Nothing, no current tower of proper height to be able to communicate back to Draftonville. There's a little bit of an elevation problem between Draftonville and Aurora. The only way to solve that is to put a tower of sufficient height at Aurora.
Do you know where exactly in Aurora?
We inspected at the fire station. Because there we would have, Ricky's got a generator there that could power this in the event of a storm or a long duration power outage. Each of these, we're gonna have some kind of power backup at all of these locations. So we kind of tried to stay with what we knew was existing. They already had the generator, it was a perfect location.
Sounds like that Draftonville generator needs a little work on it.
There are things that need to be addressed at every site.
The good thing is that we've identified the need with the cost, and now we can put a plan in place to try to accomplish this. And I know, I see we've got the, with the 10% contingency, we've got the cost for the communications. And then I see there's a cost here, LaDonna, that you've got.
Yes.
Um,
Some of which will not take place until a new facility would be established.
I'm sorry?
Some of this would not come into play until a new facility would be established.
Gotcha. Well, good. I know that this has been long awaited.
This is critical to my funding stream, so we've got to this point now, and I'm ready to go forward
Okay.
with this, so.
Good. This is, I know we have had several conversations. This is what we have been waiting for. We had several town hall meetings in the past as far as funding, and this dollar amount with the 10% contingency for the communication is just as vital as what you've got listed for the day-to-day operations for 911. So knowing these dollars now, we can put together a more accurate funding
Exactly.
for the overall operation. We'll take a look at this and start moving forward on what we originally had planned as a fiscal court, is trying to find out what the funding is going to be, future funding is going to be for 911. So I know we've been waiting for this. I appreciate the hard work you guys put in, and I know Brian, when you sit down with Brian, you tend to get lost real quick when it comes to communication, so.
Well, I can't do it without him.
Well, that's good. I do appreciate what y'all did to help solve this problem.
Okay,
So we'll just keep moving forward with it.
okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Let's see. See Chad back here. Chad, do you want to give us an update on sanitation lift station project? Good morning, sir. From Rivercrest.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, the lift station project down there in Aurora, I think last time I spoke with you, it was starting to move after we got through the little bit of the weather we had in January, and then progress picked back up in February and continued in March. The contractor is out there actively. They weren't out there yesterday in the storms that they had, but they're out there working. Currently, we're sending monthly SAS reports there to a couple of board members at the sanitation district, and the contractor's actively working at sites 2, 3, 4, and 5. That'll be everything except for the Cherokee lift station number 1 down there off Cherokee Road, just down the hill from the treatment plant. They haven't started work there. As of last week, they actually got power to the Catholic Church lift station, so that one is active now, and that one is pumping. So that one is going, lift station number 2, they're behind the Pond Restaurant. We're getting that powered up right now. It's my understanding this week that will be running in service, and number 3 is right behind it. All the rehabilitation work has been completed at number 3. It kind of looks like a mess right now, but that's just cosmetic. You know, the lift station is operating and running. Just needs to go through final inspections over there on that one. As soon as they finish up there, lift station number 5, we do have a couple issues over at that lift station. You got a manufacturer's defect in the structure that was delivered. So we're waiting on a time schedule from the manufacturer to come out here and tell us their recommended approach. There's a leak in the structure. It's a fiberglass structure. Nothing we want the contractor dealing with. It's a manufacturer's defect, so we're just waiting for their recommendations on how they want us to proceed. And then moving on to number 1, it's my understanding that they have coordinated with the parks staff down there about access into the site and how they're going to get their equipment in and out. And sounds like probably within the next week or 2, they'll start moving equipment over there and start working on lift station site number 1. Elephant in the room, maybe contract time. I have had some discussions with the judge about that already. We got a request from the contractor. It was a week ago Friday, requesting some additional time on the project. By contract, their contract time was up on the 5th of March. At this point in time, a response has not been presented to the contractor. it's really not for Rivercrest to decide one way or the other. It's really, we can provide you with any information that you need as far as the project goes, project timeline and history, and then it'd be up to the district and fiscal court to decide whether or not to extend the time of the contract. There are liquidated damages clauses in the contract. If the fiscal court, the district want to proceed with those, and those are $500 a day, calendar day for the project. As of right now, the contractor is on site every day they can, and they are actively working on the project. They did get off to a very slow start. Progress was very slow to minimal on the first 3 months of the job, just to be honest with you. So that's where they're at, and that's where the contract stands at this time, but they are engaged, and we don't have any reason to believe that they're not going to complete the project. But we are seeing some lift stations get turned on now, which is a positive. There for a while, we had 4 sites opened up. We didn't have anything pumping. So now that we're getting some pumping going at the new lift stations, and we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel a little bit more, at least on those 4 sites.
Early delays due to weather or just delays?
I wouldn't say so. The contractor contends that waiting on materials was a big issue for them. We received shop drawing submittals from the contractor very early on, actually in October, before the notice to proceed was issued in November. And we actually returned those material submittals to them as approved during the month of October. So I can't, from our standpoint, I don't think we held them up in any way, shape, or form as far as ordering materials and getting materials. And it's also for them to calculate, whenever they're figuring their bids and looking at the contract time to see if they've got enough time when they bid the job.
Chad, do you know, my biggest concern is July 1. Are they going to be done before July 1?
Based on, we had a progress meeting a week ago Friday also, and they estimated 6 weeks to completion of that project. So, as of right now, given favorable weather, that may happen. So,
I'm sorry, say that again. Sorry.
Given favorable weather, I think 6 weeks is doable.
Okay.
As far as having everything up and running. I couldn't tell you that they'll have everything cleaned up and the project won't be 100% complete at that time. But if they get in there to site number 1 and it stays relatively dry for them, it's very conceivable within 5 to 6 weeks they could have all 5 lift stations up and running.
So that's 7 weeks past the deadline?
Approximately, yeah.
What'd you say the deadline was, March 5th?
Mm-hmm. So, the contractor hasn't asked for a specific time extension. They just asked for a open-ended extension to the contract time. We haven't had any unforeseens pop up on the contract to date as far as change conditions, anything that would lead them to believe that there's something out there that they weren't anticipating getting into any of these sites. So I don't think there's anything that we've noticed to date that would allow for extra time just due to an unknown condition that they've gotten into at any of these sites. Everything's been pretty well as we anticipated or expected going in here.
I guess at this point, do we have a guarantee? Because I think the concern for the fiscal court would be getting into the next budget year.
If there are concerns about timing on the contract and finishing and possible invocation of the liquidated damages clause, it sounds a lot like a potential litigation issue, and I would suggest that we discuss that in executive session.
Okay. Do we need to discuss that today, or?
I would say yes.
Okay. Well, then we'll wait if you don't have a problem.
No, that's fine. I didn't need an answer. I just wanted to give you an update as far as where the contractor stood and their request, that I received a week ago Friday.
Were you at the board meeting that the district had?
I was not.
Okay.
A couple of the board members were at our progress meeting that we had that week ago Friday. Randy and, the name escapes me. From the Brass Lantern, the owner of the Brass
Oh,
Lantern.
Kelly.
Kelly was there also
Yeah.
at the meeting,
Okay.
and Linda was there as well.
Okay. We've got a joint meeting with the refuse, so we can go into executive session when we get done today.
All right. You have any questions
Any other questions?
about the project? As far as the Draftonville Sewer Project goes, real quick, I know it's not on the agenda, but the easement negotiations are going very favorably. We made a lot of progress this last month. Got buy-in from Christian Fellowship this week also. We're probably nearing 75%, 80% on our easement negotiations right now, and gotten positive responses with all from we got about 2 that are still holding out pretty far against the project, from a standpoint. We anticipated that going in, but further negotiations to come with a couple of them, but all moving very well.
Okay. We have a meeting on the 26th on the 319 funds that from Department of Water, so we'll be meeting to follow up with them. Any other questions? All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. See on their correspondence, I see Richard's here. At the Morris County Veteran Support Group, it was brought to our attention that March 29th is National Vietnam War Veterans Day, so we decided to do a proclamation for March 29th, and I'm just going to read that. Richard, do you have anything that you want to say? I know this is you helped put this together, so you put a lot of work into this.
Just do the research on the numbers, Your Honor.
All right, I just wanted to make sure you were recognized. So let me read this proclamation. Morris County Fiscal Court Proclamation, National Vietnam War Veterans Day. Whereas the Military Assistance Advisory Group, MAG, Indochina, with an authorized strength of 128 men, was established on September 27, 1950, with a mission to oversee the use and distribution of U.S. military equipment by the French and their allies, requests for aid, advice on strategy, and train Vietnamese soldiers. And whereas the Republic of Vietnam was proclaimed on 26 October 1955, and armed conflict continued, and whereas U.S. recognized the U.S. MAG in Indochina into country-specific units, and MAG Vietnam was established on November 1st, 1955, and became the commencement date of the Vietnam conflict. And whereas the earliest U.S. casualty record contains a date of death of June 8, 1956, and whereas the number of U.S. military deployed to the Republic of Vietnam increased each year, peaking at 536,100 in 1968 and totaling over 2,594,000 in country, and whereas 58,220 U.S. service members died in the conflict, and whereas 303,644 U.S. service members were wounded in action, and whereas a further 1,626 U.S. service members remain missing in action, and whereas on March 29, 1973, combat and combat support units withdrew from the Republic of Vietnam, now, therefore, I, Kevin Neal, Judge Executive Morris County, do hereby proclaim that March 29, 2018 as National Vietnam War Veterans Day. And I know that they have a ceremony down in Paducah. Was that from 11 to 6 p.m. at the VFW?
Your Honor, that's the VFW is having a meal provided for Vietnam veterans and their families, and anybody else that wants to attend is $6 fee for those, and that's at 1727 Washington Street, Paducah. As far as an actual recognition ceremony, I don't know of that for sure. Is there another ceremony or just that?
I didn't see over there, Robert. Okay.
Their Facebook page is 1727, so I don't know. It's next door to each other.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, gentlemen. Do y'all have any questions or comments? Let's see, under correspondence, personnel changes. Sean Hamlet, new full-time deputy jailer, start date February 8th. Christopher Thompson, terminated effective 2/23/18. Jathan Brown, new full-time 911 dispatcher, start date 2/8/18. Destiny Timmons, new part-time animal care and control, kennel worker, start date 2/10/18. Alyssa Crum, new part-time animal care and control, kennel worker, start date 2/10/18. Timmy Freeman, deputy jailer, wage increase from $10 to $10.50, 6 months employment. Desiree, fiscal court clerk, additional $43.20 per day for 20 hours a week at $9 per hour to cover for Lacey while on maternity leave. And Dustin Schulte, deputy jailer, changed from full-time to part-time status effective 2/17/18. Record that in the minutes. Under old business, approved minutes for March 7th, 18.
Motion to approve the minutes, Judge, is written.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Old business, we've got the bid for the ambulance. I see Brian's here. We got those bids?
Yep. Advertisement for bid was placed in the Marshall County Tribune Courier, Benton, Kentucky, Tuesday, March 13, 2018. Marshall County Fiscal Court is currently accepting bids for a Type 1 ambulance remount. Bidder must be QBM certified and comply with KKA 1822E. Sealed bids will be open Tuesday, March 20th, 2018 at 9:30 a.m. in the Marshall County Courthouse. Bid specification package may be obtained by calling the Marshall County Ambulance Service at 270-527-1243. The Fiscal Court reserves the right to reject any and all bids. Signed, Kevin Neal, Judge Executive. I believe we have 3. This is from Tailor Made Ambulance. This is for a ambulance brand, tailor-made. Looks like total, and I'll give it to Brian to verify, but net price complete as specified, $99,639. That's with a trade-in allowance for takeoff chassis of $1,500.
Take off how much for the trade-in?
$1,500. So the total price complete is $101,139 minus the $1,500, total $99,639. Oh, okay, this one's from Select Tech. Total price complete as specified, $114,855, minus a trade-in value allowance of $2,000. So net price complete, $112,855. And the last one. Yeah. This is from, how do you say that? Osage Ambulances. Total price, complete as specified, $117,622. Trade-in allowance, $1,000. Net price, $116,622. And that's all of them.
Take a look at those, Brian.
Who's the last one? What? I can't hear. Osage?
It's OSAGE.
While he's looking at that, we'll go ahead in the new business. Road Department Bridge Plan, just like the road plan, Wendy and I sat down and came up with a bridge plan. When we look at our infrastructure as far as roads, that also includes our bridges. We really haven't had a bridge plan in the years past, so as far as going out and doing the maintenance on them. So I think the engineers from the state came down, and if you want to go over this, Wendy, just update the court on.
Yeah, I got some estimates on the two bridges that were knocked down by the state to 9 tons on Calvert City Road. The first one's over Howard's Branch, and it's $342,714. And then I've got you 2 different prices on there. We're hoping to maybe be able to put in a box culvert at the other location. If we do so, that'll bring it to $65,000 for that location. If not, then it's going to add another $203,248 to that price. So, and I know we've got it on the agenda later on, but we've talked to BFW, and for $7,500, they can do a hydraulic study at that location to make sure that a box culvert will work in that location. I mean, because you're looking at saving over $200,000 if we go that route, if it'll work out. And then 2019 bridges, we've got one at Sid Darnell Road to replace, and the estimate on it is $337,470. And then our 80/20 funds on it is $80,000, so that would bring it down to $257,470. And our 80/20 funds for this year is $134,940 is what we've got in there right now to use.
The intent is to try to get this done this fiscal year on the 2 Calvert City Road bridges.
It is, and I think that we're going to be pushed for time with the contractors and stuff by the time they, come up with their plans and then order their beams and everything. I think they'll be really pushed to get it done by June 30th, but we can try.
The study, as far as the box truck culvert, is that your recommendation that we go with Baker Farm and Workman to do that study? Obviously, as you said, it's a significant savings.
Yes, we called around to different ones, and it's hard to find someone that does the hydraulic studies anymore.
Right.
So,
Oh, they do good work, very good work.
but VFW, yes, they were the ones that turned in a quote for $7,500.
Well, I know as we've discussed, the residents out there, I assume that they would be just as satisfied with the box culvert as the bridge, because they don't want a racetrack out there anyway, because when we proposed straightening the road while we were into this, that there was objection from everybody, and I followed up on that, and that is accurate. So they don't want a racetrack out there. That slows them down a little bit, the little zigzag, and I'm sure they'd be much better than what's out there now, if allowable. Do you need a motion to contract with Baker Farm and Workman to proceed with that study?
Well, that's down here.
Okay.
The hydraulic study on the Calvert City Road. The thing with these 2 bridges, the state came in, evaluated them, reduced the tonnage, and I think, is one of them a school route?
Yeah, they both are.
Both of them are
Both
school
of them are
routes.
school routes, so. But we're trying to get them done this fiscal year if possible, but time permitting, we may not be able to pull that off, so. But since this is on the agenda for the hydraulic study, we can go ahead and jump down to it. This is just to update you on the road or the bridge plan as far as updating our bridges. And we've got, I know she put together, I don't know how many bridges, we've got quite a few bridges in the county, but she put together a list as far as how old they are, when they were first put in, what type they are. We've got quite a few bridges. When we start looking at our infrastructure as far as roadways, it's not only just asphalt, it's bridges as well, so. But begging Farmer Workman to do the hydraulic study. If you look at that document that's in there, it's $7,500 is what the estimate was. We don't know what the estimate's going to come back, but we feel that $7,500 is worth the investment because it may save us over $200,000. But if you would entertain a motion to accept BFW to do that hydraulic study.
I concur with that analysis, and I'll move that we contract with Baker Farm Workman for the project.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah, as I told Wendy, the school bus, both those bridges, I talked to Jeff Stokes at the school bus garage and didn't know how much a school, I knew the weight limit's 9 ton on those two bridges, and the school bus weighs 16 tons, so, you know, they're having to go alternate routes and pretty big inconvenience and time consuming for the families.
These are state estimates on these, on the bridges. Well, they'll be bid, I guess, at some point.
Yes. We're working on
Sometimes
that
they'll
now.
be better, actually. but-
Yeah, I'll have to wait on the one for the hydraulic study to be completed, but the other one, we're getting ready to move forward on it.
They get out there pretty quick, and once you contact them, can't they?
Next on the new business is the memorandum of understanding. I'll just read this. This is with the Sanitation District. This is a draft. We put this together. I had Jason put this together. Whereas Morris County Sanitation Districts 1 and 2 have been combined to form Morris County Sanitation District. Whereas Morris County Sanitation District is in the process of working toward expanding its services and customer base. Whereas Morris County Sanitation District does not on its own have the capital resources available to expand its infrastructure as intended. Whereas Morris County Sanitation District needs the financial assistance of the Morris County Fiscal Court. Whereas the Morris County Fiscal Court is willing, for the benefits of maintaining current Morris County Sanitation District services and expanding Morris County Sanitation District services and customer base, to provide that financial assistance. Now, therefore, it is understood and agreed between the parties as follows. 1, Morris County Fiscal Court agrees from time to time, and as is deemed feasible and appropriate in the discretion of the Morris County Fiscal Court, to provide financial assistance to the Morris County Sanitation District in the form of subsidies, backing for loan applications, grant requests, etc. 2, Morris County Sanitation District agrees to reimburse the Morris County Fiscal Court for such financial assistance from surplus funds available to Morris County Sanitation District. Surplus funds shall be defined as monies on hand that are above and beyond monies needed for the everyday operation and maintenance of Morris County Sanitation District, and those monies that may be necessary to be held in reserve in case of emergencies. 3, both parties agree that it is not now possible to have a specific payment plan in place due to some unknowns, one of which being the amount of revenue that will be available once expansion is complete. Both parties agree. 4, both parties agree to reduce this memorandum of understanding to a more specific and detailed reimbursement agreement once all of the necessary information is available to the parties. That's the memorandum of understanding. I believe the board, the sanitation board, went over this memorandum of understanding, but wanted to bring this to the fiscal court. Are there any questions?
Something that we have to continue to support.
When I talked to Roger Rechtenwald from CAECO too, there's other counties that are in the similar situation as us, and they went into an agreement with the districts to make sure that the fiscal court, the intentions of the court are continued throughout the relationship. There was one county that didn't have it in place in the district. Today, with the change of personnel, they chose not to pay it back. So this protects us as far as making sure that the district pays back the monies that are borrowed.
I guess a rate fee committee.
I think they meet 1st of April.
That's been changed to the end of April, and they will come back with a figure supposedly. I talked to Randy Green last week. He contacted me, and they changed that meeting from the 1st of April to the end of April, and
I'd make a motion that we support this memorandum of understanding.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now I'll update the court with the district so that we get this signed before we move on anything else.
You can't give us any idea on a repayment plan at this time then?
They're going to have their rate committee present to the district.
End of April meeting?
Do you want to update us on this, the local health department contract to provide services? You got that? This was, you haven't seen it? Is Julie here? But I don't know if I don't think she's familiar with it. This is one that's done every year. This is the,
So this is just a contract with the health department to provide our blood tests for our wellness, and the health department agrees to perform the following services. The health department will provide lab work at rates below. Both lipid and glucose are $50 a piece, insurance waivers only. So this is just a contractual agreement with the health department to provide those services.
move that we adopt if we need a motion.
need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That's all right. Next on the new business, the owner-architect agreement. I've asked RBS Design Group, and Craig's here today, to give us an agreement, sitting down with the insurance adjuster on the maintenance facility that burnt down, the rebuild and the design. It's requested that an architect from the insurance company requesting that an architect be identified to design the rebuild of the building. So we asked for his services. They did. Greg, you want to come up here, please? They actually did the Muhlenberg Center. They done some work in Murray, and they're not the original architect. They're the ones that came in and fixed the health department.
That's correct.
I want to make that clear.
That is a good point.
Do you want to update the court a little bit on this agreement?
Certainly. First of all, appreciate the opportunity to be here and appreciate Judge Neal and LaDonna for their time in meeting with me on 2 occasions, the second one being a meeting with the insurance company. Couple of things you need to know that, insurance company is going to probably pick up part of this contract, the part associated with designing a building to replace the building. What you're proposing to do is not exactly replace the building that you had piece by piece. So it's going to be a new building with a little different function in it. What you have in front of you, the AIA owner architect agreement, is a standard agreement. It's a document produced by the American Institute of Architects that we use. We've got, I think, 4 attachments to the rear of it. The very last one being the most probably important one, which is Exhibit D, very last page, and that's where our fees associated with it. What we do as a company is we primarily use the Department of Education fee guidelines, and this is just a copy of it without their name on it. And so it's a percentage fee, and it's based upon what is actually designed and what is bid on bid date. And then at that time is when you determine what the fee is. So it's a sliding scale. Obviously, the cheaper the project, the higher the percentage. The more expensive the project, the smaller the percentage. With that, we will have some consulting engineers that will work with us. First and foremost will be a civil engineer and structural engineer, and those will be engineers from BFW, which you all, I think, are familiar with. The mechanical electrical engineers will be Markham Engineering. Also, they're associated with BFW out of Paducah, and we worked with both of those companies for a number of years, and most recently in Marshall County on resolving the issues to the health department. We currently are working in the city of Murray, doing the renovation to the high school. We did a new fire station there. We've got a new storm shelter that we've just completed the design of for Lyon County. And obviously, we've done work in other surrounding counties as well. So be more than glad to answer any of those questions.
The facility that we're asking RBS to design is a multi-facility with the maintenance garage. The old facility, we had BFW go out and look at it as far as building it back to its, I guess, the original material size and what the cost would be today. But when we further looked at it, obviously 911, I think LaDonna said you got like 400 square foot, maybe even less than that, but they've got a small footprint where they're currently at, and rebuilding this facility gives us the benefit of moving 911 out of its current location and moving it up to a more central location, and that's why when we sat down with the engineer or the architect, the 911 has, is it the F3 rating is the minimum? If you can speak a little bit about that.
Certainly. When we start looking at a facility such as a 911, it becomes what's called an essential facility. In the Kentucky building codes, we have to build those buildings to a higher piece. And then what we want to look at is a minimum of F3. You can go up to F4, F5 if you choose. F5 being, I think, 250 mile an hour winds and up. F4 being at the 200 mile an hour winds and up. And F3, I believe it's at 150 or 180, somewhere around that nature for it. We use insulated concrete forms with a concrete deck over the top of it to create that resistance, and it's something we've done several times, and so very easy to obtain. You don't have to do the whole building that way, but you could choose to as well. It will come down to cost, but it will be a very secure facility from storms. We can design the building, especially that particular area, to withstand a direct hit, stay operational. We put an emergency generator in. We put a hurricane, what's called a hurricane fence around that emergency generator so that we keep debris from hitting the emergency generator, which allows us to maintain the electricity to the building in case of storm outage. So a lot of good things that you can do with that facility. You can create some sleeping areas, some and bathing areas for those staff in case you have an emergency, which requires them to stay on site and not allow them to leave. You could have situations where you can't travel, where you had an ice storm, for instance, and they're stuck there and they need to keep the facility operational. So there's a lot of good things you can do for your community by having a facility such as this. 400 square feet for 911 of 4 stations is not even a minimum size. That is subpar, to be honest with you. So.
And with that information, as you know, obviously the insurance is going to pick up most of the costs, but anything above the fiscal court would have to pick up those costs. So obviously having the engineering or the architect firm come in and identify the design and the cost, we'll be able to get a better idea on what that cost is going to be for us.
I mean, this exercise is to tell us the differential from what CAECO is going to get, and the insurance is going to give us back what the project would cost. our actual cost. I think that's a good idea.
Well, that's part of what we're going to do. We're going to take some historical data to give to the insurance company to help get a better settlement for the district on what you had originally. And then as we move through the process, that'll allow us to identify two things. One, what the cost, the opinion of probable cost of replacing your existing facility piece by piece, item for item, square foot for square foot. Keep in mind the facility that you had two different types of construction, one being a pre-engineered metal building, which is the largest part of it, and I think the smaller part, the office area, was concrete block walls with probably wood trusses. So we would help with the insurance to build that back to get an opinion of probable cost. That will tell you how much your settlement will be for the new construction. Secondly, that will give us opportunity to identify what the fee is by just looking at the fee schedule that's attached to the back of this contract, which again helps you all reach that settlement. There's a couple other things that they have to take into consideration when you build a new building. You have to have special inspections done. We've already procured costs for those, and those have been given to Judge Neal for special inspections. You got test and balancing. You've got to have a site survey done, and you have to have a geotechnical exploration done. We've already procured those four costs that go towards your insurance settlement. And then the final piece is to using historical information that both Markham, Bacon Farm, Workman, and RBS has to help get the settlement for the replacement building. What this contract does is allow us to design the new facility. And then as we go through that design process, we'll get to a bid day, and on bid day, you'll know what the actual cost is. Throughout the process, we'll give the judge opinions of probable cost. We'll do one at schematics. We'll do one at design development documents. We'll do another one at the end of construction documents. Then after construction documents, you go out for bids. That's when the contractors tell us, this is what we're willing to do the project for. And then it will tell us how good of a job we did estimating. We would hope to be within 10% or less of what our opinion of probable cost is, but sometimes you're below that and sometimes you're a little above it. So nonetheless, that would be the process that this contract will allow you all to move forward with.
Correct.
So you're going to help us justify the cost of replacing that building with our insurance carrier.
Yes, sir. That's
Help
part
us
of what-
make our point so that they'll get right in the heart.
Yeah.
We'll give them more reason to, okay.
The other thing, and I just want to make sure everybody understands, we talk about 911, but this facility is going to be a multi-use facility. We're still going to have the voting equipment stored there. The maintenance department will be there. The coroner's office will also be co-located. So this will be a multi-use facility to where all of them will be housed under the same roof. The other thing with 911, it's, sitting down with LaDonna, we feel that our 911 in this county can be a regional 911. There is interest from other counties, and that opens up funding from Homeland Security. So when it comes to getting further into the weeds as far as the infrastructure, there's monies there that will assist RPSAP as far as the actual infrastructure upgrades for 911, which is much needed, as you put on your list here. So
Would
just to
that
add a few.
accommodate a future expansion, or is that in the plans? This is first I've seen of this, but that along those same points, I understand exactly what you're saying. I agree, and we are in line to be a regional site. And would this plan that what we're shooting for, the space, would that be appropriate? I just thought I heard that the size of this 911 space in this new building is not even up to average.
No, your existing 911.
Oh,
space.
okay.
Just
400 square
Yeah,
feet.
okay,
You can
gotcha.
expand on that,
Oh,
but
yeah,
just to
oh,
answer
yeah.
it, How we would move
You're
forward.
telling us something we already knew there, so,
Yeah. I was just repeating
right, I
existing
understand. I
information.
was thought-
Keep in mind, as we go through this contract, one of the things that we do as additional services that we include in our basic services is programming. So we'll sit down with each end user, one of them being LaDonna, and talk to them about what their current staffing is and where they want to be. And so we've already had some of that conversation. I think we would want to design a facility to have up to 6 stations. And right now, you only have 4, if I remember correctly, or 3 right now. Okay. Well, if we want to go to 8, then we would design a facility for the 8. And so it's just a matter of planning that and building it that way. And then if for some reason you don't have the funds to build it, then you design an addition to be done to the building so that can be achieved at a later date. So
we're not talking about equipping it, we're just making, in case there's 5 years down the road, the expansion, and we're a regional site, that we're looking ahead and be in position to do so.
With 6 positions to begin with room to add 2 more as we expand.
So when you look at the project we did at Muhlenberg County, and I know that you haven't had that opportunity, their 911 building has 6 stations in it. with-
Where's that, you say?
It's in Greenville, between
Oh.
Greenville and Central City and Powderly in Muhlenberg County. But they've got room to add 2 more stations, okay? And we worked with them, and they were going with some national vendors to do all their stations, and they ended up using the Kentucky prison system to get their stations at a much reduced cost. And so that did basically the same things of the national brands. But anyhow, you're going to design the facility not only for what they need today, but hopefully for what they're going to need in the future. So,
Thank you.
and we'll meet with not only her, but the other 3 end users to make sure we're providing what they need currently and looking out for it in the future.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? If not, we would need a motion to accept the owner-architect agreement.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. I'll leave you
Could
2
you-
copies for
Get a card.
Could you provide that,
Card.
the insurance policies that are listed in there, could you provide us with copies of those?
I go by there a bunch. Thank you. Card, okay. That's okay. Okay, thank you.
Next on the new business, the bid advertisement for power loading ambulance cot fastening system. Brian, you want to kind of update them on that?
Good morning, how is everybody? Bring this down to my level. Last year with our new ambulance that we spec'd out and that we're currently having built right now, aside from the funds set aside for that unit, one project that we've started working on it's what they call a power load system. And basically what that is the cots that we have now, they're battery operated. They have an electric hydraulic system on them that basically once we get the patient on the stretcher, we push a button, it lifts the patient up. So now they've come up with systems to where once you raise the patient up on the stretcher, you go to load them in the truck, there's a system that picks the patient up. So again, that's kind of one more lift out of the equation for my guys and girls that they're not having to do for each patient that we go on. It's one of those things, it helps reduce injuries, which is always a good thing, because that's, like I said, that's one more lift you've taken out of the equation. It's also kind of a recruiting tool because it's a newer piece of equipment that not a lot of services have currently. So we're trying to get ahead and kind of get some of those, some of that equipment. So like I said, this is kind of a continuation of a project that we started last year. So with the court's approval, I'd like to go ahead and start the bid process for getting another one for the remount unit that we're currently working on. The cost for that, I have a quote in front of me. I'm not sure did I send you that quote? You got it. Okay, perfect. Is $25,705. The way that we've written the bid specs for the previous unit and also for this one, that cost for installation is included in that bid. So basically what we would do is if this was approved, we would have this unit shipped to whoever does the remount and they would install it there. So there's not really going to be any additional cost aside from this for this unit.
Are you talking about in this budget, or is this project gonna be completed
This will be
before then?
kind of like for the remount, we're a little ahead of schedule due to some mechanical issues with our truck. So we're kind of working a little bit ahead of schedule. This would be for next year's budget.
Okay, it's budget time, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
We're
the,
planning on doing it this year.
make a motion, we allow
25,000 would be for this. Yeah, the
This fiscal year.
25,000 would be for this fiscal
Be
year.
for this year.
But
Okay,
it's for
my
your,
apologies.
it's for your, because of the mechanical problems.
Yes.
We're doing it now so that he can get his vehicle early next fiscal
my
year.
next question was, is there $25,000 in that to do there, in that line item? Or are we gonna take it from somewhere else?
There is not right now. There was discussion that we would pull that from some reserves. Let me find that number for you. With the estimate of the ambulance that we just opened bids for, it would put, with that and this equipment here, would put us over budget in that line item by about $28,500. But that keeps that equipment current, and it doesn't add to our 6535 for next year.
So the bid was, for those bids that we just opened, the lowest bid was $3,000 over what we'd budgeted? That's a $25,000 piece of equipment?
Yeah, this is 25, and the lowest bid that we just got was 99,
Yes.
99,000.
So if you take both of those into consideration, you're gonna be over about $28,500 on the high side, because I don't have the
I
change
guess
in
that
there.
answers my question, is yes, that the lowest bid that we opened is $3,000 over what we estimated? No? Okay, we got $25,000 in this piece of equipment, and with the ambulance, the total is 28, where does that other $3,000, I'm confused.
No, you're 28,000 over with both pieces of equipment.
Putting both of them together. Okay, well, one of them's 25,000, so you subtract 25,000, that total. I'm not understanding the math there. Uh-huh. It's a negative 3,000 if you don't
Okay.
have that piece of
Yes,
equipment.
if you're proposing
so-
not to
so
purchase
worth
that equipment, then yes, that would be
My calculation
correct.
said that's $3,000 over what we'd budgeted for the ambulance, or in
Yes.
that line item.
Yes, if
Okay,
you
okay,
choose
that's
not
what that's what
to purchase this.
Gotcha.
I'd make a motion that he go out, allow him to go out for bids, and we can determine whether we want to move forward with that project or not.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you.
Is
Thank
there
you.
more than one person that'd be interested in bidding?
Not with this system, because with it being, with Stryker making, the stretchers that we currently have are Stryker, so they're the sole
So
manufacturer
that
for that. For the system, it
25,000
would be,
is pretty accurate.
yeah.
Okay.
But we can get the bid process done.
Then we got to get the bid process completed, and we can decide what we're there about to.
Did you have enough time to look at those?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
want to,
Yeah,
Comment on
looking at
those.
all of them, we had 3 vendors, Tailor Made Ambulance, Osage Ambulance, and Select Tech. 2 of those I'm personally familiar with. We've worked with Osage and Select Tech over my career as the director since 2012, used both of those. Had very good luck with those. Tailor Made I'm not that familiar with myself. I do know that with Osage was the original manufacturer of this unit that we're remounting. One of the things that Osage does is that if they remount their own box, they maintain a lifetime structural warranty on the modular body. So if there's any sort of structural defects, any sort of problem with it, they maintain a lifetime warranty as long as they're the one that remounts it. So if we have somebody else remount it, then that's something that we won't, that's not an option for us any longer moving forward. All the specs were complied with. Everybody complied with the specifications as written. Select Tech's a company, again, that we've used quite a bit, just about for every one of our remounts, I think, but one since we've started remounting. We've used Select Tech. They're a very good company. I mean, they've always done us good in the past. They're relatively close. They're in Shelbyville, Tennessee, just on the other side of Nashville. So anytime that we've had any sort of issues that we've had to run one back down there, you know, it's not an act of Congress to take a truck down there to get it repaired. So there's, you know, we have the costs. Like I said, two of them I'm familiar with, one of them I'm not.
Now, I got a question on tailor-made.
Yes.
Did we not get a bus in the past that had some defects to it, and we had to send it back to
Yes, that's been
tailor-made?
several years ago. It was before I was director. I know that we did have, I think, two of them that we had some issues with in the past. And I think there's also some issues finding people that will remount them. Now, I'm sure that company themselves will, but I've heard, you know, that there are troubles getting those units remounted.
One of the other bidders, what's the value, in your opinion, of, is it $17,000 with Osage that they will guarantee that? Is that
Well, that
bang for your buck? They're $17,000 over the lowest bid.
Well, one
but
good thing about
it's not
Osage-
necessarily the lowest if with that guarantee and
Yeah.
the history.
Well, one good thing about Osage is they build a really good box from the get-go, so usually you don't have a whole lot of structural, you know, issues with them. So is it
But if
$17,000?
they do if there are issues, they make that guarantee.
Yes, yes. There again, you know, I mean, if you go down the road, let's say, you know, the next time we go to remount it, if somebody else does, then you no longer have that. So,
Right.
you know, I mean, we've had, like I said, we've had good luck with both of them, with Osage and Select Tech
In
both.
past history, we do a lot of remounting.
Yes, yeah, that's kind of the direction that we've started
Right.
going, is instead of buying new
Right.
units every time we remount them, because it's substantially cheaper than buying a whole new unit out. And we do good. I mean, our crews do a good job of taking care of them, so they're not, you know, they're not pieces of junk whenever we get done with them.
What's your recommendation?
My recommendation would be to go with, just based on the cost, would go to Select Tech, because I mean, they're, you know, a company that's they've done us right in the past. You know, they've remounted just about every remount we've had but one, I think they've done. So they always do a good job. They're quick. Once you get the chassis down there, I mean, they get it in and get it out, and they do a good job. So that would be my recommendation.
And I would say with this particular mount, this is the one that you got the mechanical, or the one that we have now.
This is one, and kind of part of the reason we're running a little bit ahead of schedule on getting this truck remounted is because we had the unfortunate incident of having an engine seize up on it.
So you're
had some
down a
issue-
vehicle now.
We're down this truck, yes. We had a patient, we were headed to Paducah with them, and ended up, the engine died, pulled over on the side of the road, towed it to get it worked on, come to find out the engine seized up. So it's basically a big paperweight right now. So that's why we're kind of running a little bit ahead of schedule on remounting this one. Typically, we would have done it started this process after July 1. But, you know, if we waited till then, this truck would just be sitting somewhere until we got that process going. Plus, if we have other units that go out with mechanical issues, we don't really have anything else to fall back on.
I know it's what's that, $13,000 more than the lowest bid, but obviously not always is the lowest best, and in your opinion, that's the situation here.
So is there a motion for Select Tech?
Follow
Take
your
his recommendation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd second to follow his recommendation for a Select Tech bid.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
State
Motion
that
carries.
clearly in the minutes, the difference, to explain the difference in the bid and the fact that discussion was had. Expound on that.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Brian. Let's see, on the new business, we'll move to bid advertisement for the annual mowing. Brad, you got a copy of this?
Yep, so I've got I think you guys have the list of, well, I've got mowing up first, so we'll go for that one. The list of 19 properties that we contract out to have mowed for the year. And then we've got, that'll start in April. So we'll just need approval for that bid advertisement.
Motion to approve bid advertisements for annual mowing.
Is there a second?
that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And the second advertisement would be for our annual bids. I did send this out to all of our department heads. Yeah,
Didn't we change the date on that?
for the mowing.
Thought it said, didn't we change it to April the 10th?
Yeah, and this is due by April the 9th.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, yeah. So the second one is the annual bids with all the items that we bid every year. I did send these out to the department heads, and we got some changes back, but for the most part, it's pretty much what we've done every year, so.
Motion to approve sending out the annual bid notice.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Let's see, under new business, Emily's going to be gone in April from the 3rd to the 6th, so have an interim treasurer during that time, which would be Brenda Edwards. You want to comment on that?
That is basically a timing issue. Normally, we wouldn't do that for a vacation, but payday falls on April 7th, which means paychecks will go out on the 6th. So, they need to be able to sign any paper checks that are associated with payroll and make the transfers from the funds to the payroll funds to make sure that there's adequate funding for that payroll while I'm gone.
Presently, she's not authorized as assistant treasurer to do so.
That's correct. Your treasurer by statute has to sign every check. So this allows for us to continue operations.
Motion to approve changing her status to interim while you're away.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Marine firefighting invoice, talking with Kurt Smith after the incident with the towboat on the river. The emergency rescue squad wanted to have some increased training, so they reached out to Marine Firefighting Incorporated. You see the amount that's being requested, $4,500. For the training. It's going to take place April 28th and 29th of this year. Be a towboat and barge fires, be the training. Thomas Goldner, President Marine Firefighting Incorporating, be the one giving the training. That's going to be provided to the Marsh County Rescue Squad. That is, the total fee is $4,500.
We've in the past not really budgeted much for them, but asked them to come if they had a need, and obviously they have a need, and I move that we approve their request.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Who can sit in on?
Motion carries.
That was gonna be, I was gonna just bring that up. It's not just gonna be for the rescue squad. Naturally, we're gonna invite EMS, law enforcement. It gives everybody a better overview of what exactly is involved in these tolls and the confined space and everything that's down there.
So a speaker, it doesn't matter whether they speak to 20 or 30 or
It
40.
shouldn't be an issue. He's gonna
Okay,
come
it's the
out
same
and do that,
fee.
so, and naturally, we need all the mutual aid partners, because that's just
Right.
not a rescue squad scenario or response.
I didn't know what about, I know when that incident happened, that the chemical plants at Calvert City, the fire brigades from there, will they be offered that training if there's no added expense?
I'm sure they will, being that Kurt Smith's part of the CMAC, he's actually the president of the CMAC group over there, so.
I know those guys were very instrumental and some of the first on the scene when that
Didn't they
event.
actually, of course, that company wasn't actually a CMAP member, but they still responded with
Right.
whatever they had. I know they came through the gate there with our packs and for enclosed space. And I don't think they used any of it, but they brought it and were willing to help.
And that's admirable of the CMAP group over there, that they actually go outside, their entities that are members of that group.
Yep. It's in Calvert, they try to help. That was a really bad day there.
But we'll push that out to all the agencies and.
Certainly, if there's no additional cost, whether there's
I don't
20 or
think
30
there
or
will be.
40 attend, that
Maybe going out of line saying that, but I'm pretty sure that it's not gonna be an additional cost depending on who comes.
they were nice enough to respond during the incident, so
You may-
certainly.
I mean, space, you may have to figure out where you're gonna have it and everything. Make sure you've got
I
room.
think they're gonna try to hold it in that, probably over the Calvert Training Center or something, in that new big double room they got.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll make it work, I'm sure.
Can, I get clarification, can we move that, would you all like for me to remove that amount from reserves and put it into the special group contributions for this training?
Say that again.
Yeah.
We don't have funding for, we don't have any in that line
Right,
item.
right.
Will, will you all grant permission for me to move it from reserves into, their special
I
group
thought I
contributions?
insinuated that in the motion, but yes,
Okay.
that's,
Thank
there's no funding, no outline item.
You want to update on the first line fire extinguisher, Brian?
Yeah, last year we put a bid out for fire protection for our facilities. And as I was checking some of our facilities, the company that we awarded the bid to did not fulfill their obligations. So I've called them and they acted like they didn't even know what I was talking about. So we, in previous years, used First Line, and I called them and got the ball rolling back with them, and they've made all the facilities that were overdue now current. But basically just an update that we're now currently using First Line instead of the vendor that was awarded the bid.
So we voided the contract with the vendor and present vendor, and it's part of the bid process coming up, okay? I know.
Well, we didn't, this fire protection is not on the annual bid for bid
Oh.
again. Since we just told First Line to go ahead and continue their services, annual maintenance.
And the cost is in line with, or basically in line, what it was pretty close last year. But I know that one of those buildings was the senior citizens building, and they were up for review for those federal funds depend on that kind of stuff in the review, and they were very antsy that, and were very complimentary of you getting on the ball, and the next day they were out there, and they were very appreciative of that move that if you need a motion to.
Not necessarily, but if you want.
Okay.
If you want to, that's fine.
Is there a motion to
So moved.
choose First Line? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. To go back to the Marine firefighting invoice, just so that we get it on the record, in that motion, we need to state that to have the treasurer move it from reserves to cover that amount of money, $4,500.
Attach that to the motion.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Bid advertisement for sanitation district generator. Do you got the information on their generator?
The only thing I had was Lindell came in and asked if they could, I guess, surplus a generator they have out in Aurora. It's not functioning. They have never fired it up. He said there's pieces missing. He was just gonna advertise the bid to sell it for scrap, I guess. So he would just, and I didn't know if we needed permission to do that, or since it is, I guess, county-owned now that there's the combined district. But yeah, it does not function.
All they're gonna do is scrap one out. So moved. If they need a motion, scrap it out. Obviously, if it doesn't work, we can use Brian's vehicle, and that is paperweight.
Second that motion.
What,
All right. So there's a motion and a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Appropriations transfer.
I'm asking permission to move $31,200 from ABC deputy training expenses to ABC contract employee and ABC contract employee FICA. $35,000 from parks construction to park equipment, and $10,000 from employee vacation payout to special service group contributions, and $100 from 911 miscellaneous to 911 dues and subscriptions.
Motion to approve the appropriation transfer.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Treasurer's report.
As of February 28, 2018, general fund had a book balance of $1,889,278.11. Road fund, $1,168,046.78. Jail fund, $214,481.86. Grant fund, $0. 911 fund, $166,745.54. Occupational tax administrator, $6,020,019.44. Veterans van fund, $0. ABC fund, $150,584.37. Building inspection fund, $29,850.67, for total reporting funds of $9,639,006.77.
Motion to accept the treasurer report, subject to audit.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Approve payment of the bills.
Pay the bills, Judge.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have a joint meeting with the refuse district at 1 PM. We're actually a little bit ahead of time. We might be able to contact them and see if they can,
their attorney won't be available till 1 o'clock.
okay.
So Jeff attended the refuse board meeting and
Why don't,
stated that that was the case.
why don't we go into executive session with the sanitation district, and then when we come out, we can recess till 1.
Possible litigation.
Yeah, possible litigation. Is there a motion?
I thought there was something else we were gonna discuss during that same, is that not true?
We're not going in with the refuge
Okay.
now, we're
So
going
we're just
in
gonna
with
go
the
in
other
separately, got it, okay.
separate issue.
Is there a motion for executive session?
Judge, just real quick, on that going back to that sanitation district generator, the reason that popped up here is because I had talked to Randy, and he asked me, does that need to be bid out for surplus? And I told him, yeah, but why don't you just wait till our annual bid, that way it'd save the district some money, but we're not gonna have an annual surplus bid because it all burned up. So, there you go.
Was there a motion? Was there a second?
Second, yes.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Call fiscal court back to order. We have got a response to what was requested in regards to the extension on the sanitation lift station project. I don't have any else further, so we've got a 1 o'clock joint meeting, so we can entertain a motion to go into recess till 1 o'clock.
So move, Judge.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we'll go ahead and call fiscal court back to order. We've got a budget meeting today, so we'll try to make this as quick as possible. the joint meeting is gonna be going over the refuse district, the host agreement, and then, the agreement, I guess, with the refuse district is gonna be, going into with the company. Do we want to go into closed session to discuss these matters, or?
And because of, under KRS 68810, both subsection C and J are applicable because potential litigation and the fact that this discussion could have, if made public, might affect expansion of a business.
Okay. Then, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. So we're out of, session. We'll go ahead and go back into, regular session. We've got a scheduled meeting for this Friday at noon, and we've got a Brian Miles that's gonna come down and speak with both representatives from the Tax and 109 District and the Fiscal Court. Room and board for Mr. Miles has been discussed, as we've done in the past. So we would need the Fiscal Court to move on a motion to pay the room and board and travel and meals for when he comes down. Is there a motion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, gentlemen, entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? I'll second it. All those in motion say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.